sometimes it can be tricky to untangle, you know? But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna read a page from the Kabbalah Primer. The High Priestess. So, High Priestess. Interesting. The early Jews occasionally represented the two pillars, Jachin and Boaz, as the legs of Jehovah, thereby signifying to the modern philosopher that wisdom and love, in their most exalted sense, support the whole order of creation, both mundane and super mundane. We find that the Ten Commandments can be directly related to the pillars of King Solomon's temple, as well as the pillars of the Sephirothic tree. 10 is the number of perfection, the proper symbol of God, man, and the universe. 10 is the number of perfection, the proper symbol of God, man, and the universe. It is the sacred 10 which Jehovah has given to us as the key for understanding the cosmic scheme that controls all things. So, this is the second major arcana in the tarot, and that means that it's also symbolized by the Roman numeral 2. And now, there is, of course, a zodiacal symbol which looks identical to the number 2. And this is just a page I picked. Just opened it up. This is the page that popped up. And the Roman numeral 2 is actually corresponding to, well, it's the same symbol as Gemini. So it is corresponding to Gemini because see how in the picture of the major arcana 2, there is in fact a duality that is present. And yet, it seems to be synthesized, or in the process of synthesizing, depending on how you look at it. So, there's this merging process that takes place in the High Priestess. Now, I like to interpret this card as like getting high on one's own supply, which is to say that you're taking the wisdom from within and the love from within and applying it to your utmost virtues and doing so in the best way possible. So, to your own abilities. So basically, it means not relying upon the external world for validation. Validation comes in many shapes, ways, and forms. But as we cultivate our own ether way, we ride it either way, So it's like, who's to say that we are cultivating our own ether way? That's impossible, because the ocean is all unified. So as one climbs the ladder, it seems that the lower steps fold upwards, So the lowest link becomes the highest because space is all relative. You know, if we turn ourselves upside down, we can see the wholeness of every drop. So, in the major arcana known as the High Priestess, getting high on our own supply comes from the why. It comes from the purpose or the higher meaning that we actually embody in every breath. And it's as Morpheus said unto Neo. He said, "You think that's air that you're breathing?" And the answer that I would respond to that is that, well, air is just an element. But ultimately, air can represent anything. Now, if he had asked, "Do you think that's oxygen that you're breathing?" It might not sound as iconic or be as holistically sellable as a meme, but at the same time, memes aside, what is air? Have you ever thought about it? Now, air is an accumulation of many elements in the ocean. Air is an accumulation of scales, waters, and twins. How do we scale the waters, right? Water is never objectifiable in a measurable sense because it's never solidified in its liquid form. But that's self-explanatory. It's redundant to say, isn't it? Yes and no, because people seem to believe you can objectify your subjective experience across all platforms. And I say you can if you were to water it down into a simpler form and reduce your personal self-expression. And that's an option for those who wish to reduce their self-expression. But here's the thing. It depends, self-expression could be good for us or it can be bad for us. It depends on how we see it. It's all relative. So if we're mitigating a part of the self that we wish to mitigate, or perhaps diminish all to a 0 point, then mitigation would be our ally in that sense, from that perspective. And we can see that Aquarius came from the 11th house. And the 11th house is the house of allies. So I'm not insinuating that Saturn is bad. Saturn is not bad. Saturn is negative. But what is negative? Negative means to negate something. Now, what if we negate the amount of gravity that we experience when we are falling 100 feet? Then 100 feet falling causes no damage. We have successfully negated the things that might diminish our life force. So, in this case, the example is gravity. But my point being is that Saturn is negating force in the cosmos. And let's think about it. Saturn rules Capricorn, right? The knee gates. You have to pass through the knee gates to get to heaven. You see what I'm saying? What is the knee gates? Now, as my knee grows, I gotta tell you about the knee gates. I know you can't wait. You feel me? Now, Saturn is a planet of blackness, you know? So the knee gates can relate to the knee grows. See what I'm saying? Um, Saturn is a planet of darkness, blackness, and poverty. And you see that Capricorn is pertaining to the south, you know? So that's the southern hemisphere, you know? So Africa and stuff is very traditional. That connects to Capricorn. Um, and poverty is very rampant in many places in Africa. Um, Capricorn deals with harsh realities, you know? So, but at the same time, you know, Africa is a very, very beautiful place. Like, look at all the lemurs at Madagascar, you know? So, like, I myself, I'm a lemur, you know? So, I love Africa. I used to live there before, but it was a while ago. But anyways, the point being, if you follow the knee gates to your own certainty, you pass through, certainly. So, you can high five the priestess.